Today I'm going to be doing a simple review and actually first time test of this Vevor. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correct, even though I purchased from this company before. Pizza press, and it's a little less than 10 inches in diameter. It's capable of pressing around 10 inches of a dough. And the reason I got it is because I'm going to be baking a lot of pizzas for the community, possibly up to 100 pizzas. And in the past, when I've hand tossed the dough, the results were great, but it took forever, even though I had multiple chefs working with me in multiple ovens. So I'm hoping this will help, though I do not like to press pizza dough. I do like hand tossed for home. There's no way I will use this unless I'm making bread. I do need the air to stay inside the pizza, not to push it out. When you hand toss, you leave the crust, the edges, inflated, not deflated, so you don't want to deflate. So anyway, I'll start off with the packaging, which was terrible. All it is box padding, and you can see it kind of broke through because it is enormously heavy. It's a pretty heavy tool, which is good. That's what you want. Luckily, there wasn't much damage, just some scratches on this film. I did not remove this film. I removed the film from here, so this is what it looks like. Assembly is minimal, and this is what you have to assemble. This rod here, you just insert it, remove the nut first, insert it in here, and then tighten the nut so that this is facing that way in order for the spring to latch onto it. And you can kind of see it here. Okay, and you can adjust variable things such as the throw, the height. I kept it as is. We'll see if this height is enough. Of course, that means I have to squash the dough a little bit, but I can adjust this whole mechanism using these bolts here, loosen them, lift this, and basically you get more of a height. And you can also adjust these hard stops, which don't even touch here. So I know I can at least lift this. In fact, I'm going to do it right now. Lift this whole assembly. The other thing is you can also adjust this, which comes on this rod. And it's another hard stop for the up position, so the resting position. So far, I've washed this with soap and washed this surface with soap as well. Let's take a look here. Let me move the angle. I'm going to loosen these here. Yeah, this was the closest wrench I found. There we go. That didn't do it. The weight of this is beyond imagination. It's I don't know how many pounds. I'm guessing it's maybe 30 pounds. I should weigh this. Well, these are loose, and I guess I need to widen this gap here so that it would release from the shaft. By the way, when you exercise this, when I did, I saw some residue here of this paint. So be careful. You don't want to get paint, of course, on your food. This was initially when I first got it out of the box. So it may have been dust from that. Here we go. So it's moving. So I'm going to push this out, lay it on its side, and wiggle this without breaking my counter. Holy moly. Look at this grease. I guess there's more to clean. More surfaces to clean. It's working, but it's going to take a while. And the reason I'm not caring much about this counter is because this counter is going to be replaced at some point soon. Otherwise, don't do it on your counter. So let's see. Test. Yeah, the amount of grease here. Can you see it? This is all grease. Let's wipe it and see what that looks like. Yeah, it's not going to get on your food because it gets covered. Nevertheless, I do not want any part that's greasy. So I will probably clean this completely later on. Now, it's going to prevent rust, so you do want some oil on here after, but it's not needed. It looks like, and it's got threaded holes here for, it could be a threaded base. This does not thread on here. So this just slides over it, and you pull and push the dough. All right, so let's test it and see if I raised it too much. So that's not bad. I just need to adjust these hard stops because now the hard stops are actually hitting. Okay, so let's do that. I won't bore you, so I'm going to pause this. So one thing I want you to note here is that there is a locking nut. So you just have to back it off first and then push this forward as much as you want. That's going to need much further distance. And then the same thing from the other side and keep testing. Okay, so I finished tightening the bolts and the lock nuts here, 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 and here. However, as I wiped it, this is what I don't appreciate, is that this is a product that's supposed to be food or food grade, and it flakes green everywhere. I do not like that, especially on the edges. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on this as I use it, especially I'm feeding a lot of people. I'm going to try not to touch any part of it other than this press. And let's see how flat this thing is. It does look flat, so that's what's important. I'm going to do a final wipe, and I did get, yes, some flakes of paint here. This at least can be removed, so this also is going to get in touch with or in contact with the pizza. And there's more flakes here. Where did this come from? So I got some grease. Looks like back to the sink. The edge got grease here, so it means that I picked it up from somewhere. So I'm going to clean that as well. Another thing I urge you to use and have on hand is a blower. And I have a mini blower, which I'll show you a little later. I use this when I bake. I use this when I clean the surface. And for things like this, quickly blow instead of using compressed air can. Okay, so one note, you do need to lubricate some parts, but use food grade lubrication. Do not use edible oil. Do not use olive oil, canola oil. Just get food grade lubrication for the mechanism here. And I'm unsure here, but you may have to remove the arm to lubricate inside. But I'm not going to be using it that much to require that. One of the things I'm doing here is, because I'm doing a test, I want to know when I go to do this mass bake event, I want to know the weight of each dough, approximately what it should be. That's going to produce the size I'm looking for. So when I start, I'm using a kitchen scale. I'm actually using two of them because I'm unsure of the accuracy. And I will zero them here and then weigh this dough. So this dough weighs 527 grams. You can't see it. Sorry about that. It's out of frame right here. Also, you can't see it. It is very dim. So 527 grams. I'm throwing it on the other scale here. Zero it. 528, 27. Excellent. So 528 grams. So I'll make a note of this. And when I press it here, we'll see what the outcome looks like. I'm used to making 12-inch dough or 12-inch pizza pies or sometimes personal size. I do want it to be exact. I want it to be as large as possible. I would love to do 12-inch, but since this is only presses 10-inch, that's fine. I do need mass production. And like I said, I do like hand tossing, hand stretching. The one note they say to do, and it makes sense, is you want to brush it with oil. I don't know how the pizza is going to come out. I do not brush them with oil, at least the outside, both sides. Especially I'm going to throw it on a stone, but I'm going to do the top with oil and the bottom, just leave it floured like this. And we'll see how that affects the dough. And the reason for the oil is to help it spread as you press it. The other thing I do use is, in fact, I don't like flour before baking. So I use semolina flour. And semolina flour works really well at preventing your dough from sticking to the pizza peel when you're doing it. I don't know how it's going to be like when I press it. So I'm hand stretching it just a little bit. Already I can tell maybe this dough is too much, but we'll see. My ovens are high temperature ovens, high speed baking. So a maximum of 2 minutes with rotation. If I'm using wood, it's 60 seconds. That means the dough cannot be thick, otherwise it will not cook. I'm just brushing it with oil here just for the first experience. And I guess let's see what that looks like. So let's zoom in here. And I'll press now. Already you can see there's a bubble here. All right, let's try. It lifted the whole plate because it got stuck. So I really hope I don't have to oil both sides. So far, I don't like that outcome. You can see it's still thick and it's sprung back. Let's try again. It's touching the green base. It's another thing I don't like. And it's gonna spring back again. It sprung back quite a bit. It did drop, but it sprung back quite a bit. I'm going to flip it and put some oil on the other side. I need to be able to establish a routine, but I'm going to pause here so as not to bore you. Okay, so the outcome was I had to use a lot of oil. Flour didn't work. It pressed it. The dough is too thick. It's not going to cook as well. So what I'm doing here is I've weighed 390 instead of 500 and whatever it was. So 390 grams. And I'm going to test this. I will rub it with oil. And what I'm going to do, even though it kind of oozed the oil from all over, I'm going to do this. And let's test it and see. And this was, here's some oil on surface that it oozed. It literally popped like a pimple. And I like that the crust here, I get a nice round crust, but I need to test it and see. See, I don't like this, that it sticks. Because if we're going to do this mass production, this is not going to be okay. But they say, you know, you can pre-press it, press it twice, and test and see. And yes, it is growing when I press it twice or 3 times, more than one. I get a lot more on the outside here. So if this is a good start, and then the rest is hand tossed, I could probably create a production line where the person starts off with this, and it does have bubbles, so that's good. And then we hand toss the rest, but it's too oily, and I have not baked anything this oily like this, because as soon as it hits the stone, this is going to burn. So I'm going to test it and see what that's going to do. I'm not sure about the oil. Now, there's nothing wrong with the machine. No matter what machine you get, you're going to end up with the same thing. So you're going to have to figure out how to solve this problem. But does it do what it's supposed to do? Yes, it does. No matter what machine you get, is it going to stick? Yes, it's going to stick. So the dough has to be tailored for the machine. So this is the dough I pressed, and then I hand stretched the rest of it. Actually, it wasn't too bad because I don't have to spend too much time hand stretching it. This is the other one, smaller dough, same thing. I think I'm going to bottom out around 450 grams because I realized when you press multiple times, it actually stretches it quite a bit. And then you can use your knuckles and just lightly stretch the pizza, spread it on your peel, and prepare it. These are the other dough balls, and we can see they already are getting pretty airy, continuing to ferment. We're going to use cheese mix. And this is a mix I've made, and I'm still going to add some more to it. I'm going to add some fresh mozzarella, and we're using here some beef pepperoni. Now, most importantly here, we're going to be using this homemade tomato sauce with herbs from the garden, and we're going to blend it a little bit so you don't get big chunks, even though that is fine if you want to do that in a pizza. And we go from here. Today is this oven made by Pizzello. I have an uni, and I like this one because this can bake bigger pizzas. Here it is. It is preheating. I'm going to scrape the surface here in a little bit. The temperature right now is at 600. I need it to get to 700. On pellets, this reaches 900. I'm not using pellets right now, but I'm using propane. But with pellets, you bake in about 60 seconds, and it's kind of nice and quick. You don't have to open the door, actually. You can look inside and check here. So we'll get back to this shortly, and we'll start baking. So we'll put this homemade sauce. You don't want too much. Not too thick, but you do want full coverage. All right, so now we're going to put the cheese. Depending on the pepperoni type, with the fast, rapid bake, pepperoni can go under the cheese because I don't want it to burn. Okay, the cheese cannot be too thick because then it becomes a barrier between the pizza, the top of the pizza, and the source of the heat, so the top may not bake as well. So you got to be careful with that. And with this one, I'm not adding the fresh mozzarella. Not yet. So this is what we're going to do. And we're going to put the pepperoni. No other topping. Again, with this rapid bake oven, you put toppings. This is a thick one. You put toppings and they will not cook and they will prevent the pizza from cooking. Okay. So we're going to just leave it as is and we're going to go to bake it now. Let's hope the pizza didn't stick. Test. Okay. All right. There we go. It puffs up like this. Though it's nice, it will get burned. So what I do is I will lift a little bit, let the air out. If it keeps doing it, I have to pop it, but I prefer not to. This has turned into a lesson about pizza, I guess. This wasn't the intent. I might as well just show you the whole process. So as soon as the crust bakes, at least it's stiff enough for me to lift, I'm going to start turning the pizza. So there we go. Turn it. Let it sit. Temperature is dropping because the gauge actually is measuring the air, not the inside of the oven. If I close the door, temperature will rise again. So I'm going to lift the pizza again and rotate. There we go. And you can see the crust still rose. And I'm actually happy with this result. Meaning if I can replicate this, go. And that should be it. Here's the outcome. It looks yummy, but I'll have to test it. So next is I cool the pizza. This time we're trying out some sparkling apple mango cider. So let it cool, and then I'll cut it up. I put some absorbent paper here for the drips, in case there are any. I didn't put oil on the surface, so maybe nothing. And that's it. Here's the smaller dough. Just so you know, by the way, this is the blower I'm talking about. It is very powerful, even though it's small, handheld. I've got a cover that I 3D printed, and I deliberately put slits in it to protect this very thin film metal, because this can get damaged if you put it in its case and it gets bumped. But I love it. It works great when I'm baking. I can clean the oven very quickly. I don't want to blow the oven right now to get the soot all over the pizza, but here we go. Let's open the door and bake it. It is at 700. And test. Yep, it slides off. There we go. And the countdown starts. Okay, we'll rotate a little bit more. Load it again. And it's done. What's the final verdict? The final verdict is, yes, this will help. I am going to use it. It's going to be followed by hand stretching, but minimal hand stretching. It is going to save us time, because when you start from zero, from a dough ball, it does take a long time. This will shorten that time. I don't like that it's very close to the mechanism itself. That means when I press, the dough will actually expand and hit this side. Even though, yes, I've cleaned it and stuff, I just don't like that. Either way, that's fine. We will work with it. And what I'm going to be doing is there'll be a lot of flour on the bottom, and there'll be oil on the top. This way I don't care if it sticks to the bottom a little bit, because I can peel it, but I don't want it to stick to the top. So when I lift, it actually breaks free. There's still going to be some suction effect. And what I'm thinking is of adding something here and in the other hole, clamps that will hold these two pieces down without holding them like too much. Maybe leave a tiny space there, maybe like a playing card width, so that I can still pull this out, but when it's back, it's held down, so when I lift, it doesn't lift this with it. And that should be good enough to work with. And that's it. I hope this was helpful for you in making this decision. I doubt many people will be buying this anyway. This is not necessarily important for home use, but just in case you're one of those people, now you know. It is close to $100. It's one of the cheapest tool of this type that you can get, actually. Show you. I went through some of my hardware that I have, and I found some parts that I guess were perfectly made for this. I believe these are sink brackets. Unsure, but I believe that's what they are. And I found some bolts that worked, some nuts, and installed them through the hole that they had here. Adjusted the height, and using two nuts to kind of lock it in place. These are threaded, these brackets, and if you look, they actually hold it perfectly. I have saran wrap, so it's making it hard to push it through, but that's what I wanted. This way, when I lift the mechanism up and the dough is stuck, it won't pull this here. And because I'm able to have one hand here, one hand on the mechanism, I can hold the front by hand if it's going to lift, but at least it holds it back from here, which is the majority of the lift actually is going to come from here. And I think that's about it. That's the modification I did.